Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. A supermarket manager has described the terrifying moment a teenager allegedly held up her store at knife point. It came just hours before a separate incident nearby, which saw a driver allegedly lead police on a chase through the streets of Rochalee.
A quiet Sunday afternoon in Newnham is about to take a violent turn. With his face covered, this 17-year-old walks into a supermarket, allegedly pointing a knife in the face of a worker. The teenage staff member barely flinches, filling a bag with notes and emptying the till. The alleged offender then storms out.
It's terrible. I had 4 staff on this afternoon, 2 of them being 16 years old, and they've got to live with that forever and they've got to work through that, and we'll do everything we can for that.
The suspect from Newnham was arrested hours later. Today he appeared in an out-of-hours court where he was remanded. The 16-year-old supermarket worker wasn't hurt and has been praised for his professionalism.
It's obviously very scary for the people involved. The young staff member who was subject to the robbery is obviously fairly shaken.
He's done really well. He's done a great job to do what he did, and he just did the right thing, handed the money over, protected himself, protected his peers.
2 hours later, police were back at Georgetown Road, this time for an unrelated incident where another young suspect was allegedly trying to outrun officers in a station wagon. The driver led police through the streets of Rochalee before a young suspect was cuffed by officers.
G'day, mate.
Police say the matter is not related to the alleged robbery.
That matter appears to be unrelated to the robbery. However, a vehicle evaded police in the Newnham area and the occupants were apprehended in Rochalee a short time after.
Anyone with information about either incident is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, authorities are investigating a burglary which occurred at Woolworths in Sandy Bay at around 1:45 this morning. Police say the front door to the supermarket was damaged before the culprit stole a till containing a quantity of cash. Nobody has been arrested and anyone with information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. Tasmanians have been reminded the bushfire threat still isn't over after a blaze ignited a bushland near Exeter. Crews were called to Long Plains Road around 1:30 p.m. after flames took hold in vegetation. Air support was also called in to fight the fire, burning over 17 hectares. An advice level warning was issued for communities including Lamena, Rosevears, Grindelwald, Bridgenorth, Lagana and Notley Hills. The Premier has hailed his latest trade mission to Japan a success, with increasing interest in Tasmanian products and resources. The government, hoping increased export numbers, currently worth billions to the local economy, will continue to boom.
Surveying some of Tasmania's finest produce, Will Hodgman back on home soil after a week-long trade mission to Japan.
This trade mission was a great opportunity for us to promote our agriculture, our aquaculture, also our resources.
The mission, part of the government's dedicated trade strategy, with $12.5 million recently invested to promote Tasmanian products. This trip showcasing some of what we do best.
We were able to make sure that Tasmania is front and centre on the international stage at FoodX, which is the largest trade expo for food and beverages in Asia.
Half of our marketing role is already done. As soon as people see that name and it's Tasmania, they know that they're going to get good quality produce.
Our export numbers are booming, up 11.3% on last year. In the year prior to January, we exported $3.74 billion worth of goods overseas, 80% of that to Asian markets.
We need to be very proactive in those markets where we have a foothold, but also greater opportunities for expansion.
Meanwhile, the chair of the first Brand Tasmania Statutory Authority has been recruited, with Nick Haddo named as taking the role.
Not just internationally, but also domestically, our consumers are wanting to have a much greater degree and understanding of the character of what Tasmania is.
Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
Connections of Tasmanian horse East Ender are facing heavy scrutiny after the gelding was a late scratching in today's Adelaide Cup amid concerns of mistreatment. It comes just weeks after the horse became the first in decades to claim all three of Tasmania's major cups.
It started the day as one of the favourites in the $400,000 Group 2 Adelaide Cup, coming off the back of some blistering form here at home. But just hours before the Barry Campbell-trained gelding was due to race, the shock news broke.
Big news, and it is big news. East End has been scratched from the Adelaide Cup this morning.
It came following a routine stable inspection from Thoroughbred Racing South Australia, prompting serious fears from stewards.
Concerned with some race day treatment practices in relation to East Ender. To that end, we interviewed Mr Barry Campbell, the trainer.
The head steward cagey with the details, but clearly unhappy with the answers provided by the Sprayton-based trainer.
And I can't go into any of the detail, unfortunately, but after doing so, stewards deemed that the integrity of racing would be better protected if the horse was deemed not to start in this event.
Now less than 2 weeks after becoming the first horse since 1977 to win the Devonport, Hobart and Launceston Cups, East Ender's stable is once again the talk of the racing world, but this time for all the wrong reasons.
The inquiry will run its course and natural justice will prevail, and if there's any action to be taken, it will be.
Tom Cooper, 7 Tasmania News.
Art lovers from across the state gathered in Sheffield today for the annual mural auction. 8 unique pieces went under the hammer in a record-breaking sale, and you won't believe the prices.
Welcome to Sheffield, a town known for its murals. But what's not well known is that you can buy one. This is Mural Park, and these are the designs that will filter through for auction over the next 2 years. Today, 8 were all looking for new homes. But what you won't believe is that they all had a reserve price of just $100.
We've set a low reserve because we wanted total clearance, because we've got to keep selling.
And sell they did.
100, thank you. 100 I have. $100 got there. $100 the bid. 100, 200 back I have. 200, 225 in front if you like, young lady.
They're 4.8 metres long, 2.1 metres high, and painted in just 1 week by local and international artists, all who have a story to tell. This playful carousel mural, titled "Just Waiting for You," sold for just $325.
Sold. Well done, sir. That's it, give him a round of applause.
This work, reminding adults to not forget the outlook on the world from a child, snapped up for just $300. The great value not lost on those successful in snapping up a bargain.
All done at $410. Gonna go at $410. Sold, well done. You got it!
You got one. You're excited, aren't you?
I am!
It's for my grandchildren.
Emily Fabish was the highest bidder for this one, titled Child's Horizon.
We were measuring it up today, and I kind of get that it's quite big and you need somewhere big to put it, and we've got a nice big house with a large sidewall, so yeah, it's going to be good, yeah.
It'll now be a picturesque backdrop for her children's cubby area. While it may seem crazy to get a piece of artwork this big for only $100, organisers say the results from today's sales are their highest yet. And they're hoping now, as the word gets around, next year will be even more profitable. Jessica Moran, 7 Tasmania News.
It was a community cricket battle between police, politicians and journalists today at Bellreeve's Kangaroo Bay Oval. The 2019 Community Shield saw the cricket pads don to raise money for the Fayaz Sumbul Foundation, supporting families in Pakistan. The first game with police taking on the Intercultural Sports League.
And we're a foundation that was set up 5 years ago to raise money for families of police officers killed and wounded in the line of duty.
Cricket's a world game and can bring people from many nationalities together, and it's just a good time, you know, it's great fun.
The second game seeing politicians settling their scores with journalists. Cars from eras gone by were today in the spotlight at the annual Clarence Lions Club car show. The event's largest fleet on display in an effort to raise funds for those affected by the state's bushfires.
From Holdens to hot rods and everything in between, it was a day to celebrate vintage cars returning to their former glory.
It's the widest variety of cars we've ever seen.
At least 1,000 spectators turning out for a trip down memory lane with close to 300 cars on display.
It's nice to look back and go, oh God, we used to have one of those, and oh, remember the old Tiranas and the old Sandman vans.
There was everything from a 1913 Empire to 1960s Chevrolets and even a Ferrari, with many owners proud to show off their pride and joy.
I know every nut and bolt on mine. It's just a passion that I've got.
For Kathleen Parker, this 1962 Mustang is a living memory of her husband.
Unfortunately, I lost him 2 years ago, and this was his pride and joy, and it's now my pride and joy.
The event, now in its 5th year, is run by the Clarence Lions Club, and the day is all about raising funds for its disaster relief fund, this year looking to those affected by our state's recent bushfires.
We're quite a bit going around southern Tasmania to help out those that are affected.
The Lions Club hoping to top last year's fundraising effort of $4,000. Casey Trelaw, 7 Tasmania News.
A record-breaking crowd has flocked to this year's Steamfest at Sheffield. 10,000 people rolled in through the gates over the long weekend to take a step back in time and appreciate the machinery of yesteryear.
A lot of people are talking about Steamfest and the preservation of our history, and maybe our history is becoming more relevant to the community as the years go on. People are starting to appreciate it and wonder how their grandparents worked in the days gone by.
The festival is now in its 25th year of operation. Thousands of Tasmanians have spent the public holiday satisfying their taste buds during the final day of the annual Taste of the Huon Festival. With more than 90 stalls in attendance, organisers promise something for everyone, from the region's finest produce to wine and entertainment. Around 20,000 people turned out over the 2 days, with the event now in its 27th year. A handful of dedicated helpers have worked up a thirst today, lending a hand to pick through this year's hop harvest. It's the 9th year Diemen's brewery has enlisted the public to get through the vines, and the payment, well, you guessed it.
You could call it gardening for beer lovers. When it comes to picking hops, there's no shortage of volunteers.
Is it as fun as drinking beer?
It's actually pretty good, and when you get to drink the beer and pick the hops, it's pretty perfect.
Some had a method worked out.
A few ways you could do it. You can just get individual ones, or you can just grab a whole handful and pull and see what you get.
For others, the lessons were a little less savoury.
Not to eat them, and they smell bloody delicious.
Diemen's is among several Tasmanian brewers growing its own hops on site, and this year is promising to be a frother.
Last year we got 300 kilos wet off the vines. This year we're looking at about 350 kilos, and that's largely due to the season that we've had. Has been there hasn't been too many winds, so we haven't lost a lot of vines off the canopy.
Harvests like this are Christmas Day for brewers, even if Will Tatchell is the only one missing out on a cold one.
I am yet to have a beer, which is very rare for me to get to midday and not have had a drop of alcohol past my lips. So yeah, I am getting a little bit thirsty.
But we'll call it quality control if you do.
It is market research, 110%.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
And just recapping an earlier story which shook the racing world today, with Tasmanian horse EastEnder scratched from the $400,000 Group 2 Adelaide Cup following concerns over race day treatment of the Barry Campbell trained gelding after a routine stable inspection by South Australian racing stewards. It's resulted in a full inquiry and comes less than 2 weeks after EastEnder became the first horse since 1977 to claim the Devonport, Hobart and Launceston Cups. To cricket, and it's do or die for the Tasmanian Tigers at Blunston Arena tomorrow, with the side's Sheffield Shield finals hopes hanging on by a thread. But the home side will be bolstered by the return of the Australian Test captain. Perched precariously at 4th on the Shield ladder after their stalemate with Victoria, the Tigers now not only need a win over the Warriors to keep their finals hopes alive, but for other results to also go their way.
It's spoken about, no doubt, because we are so close to it, but yeah, it is a real process going into the game. Would have made life a little bit easier if we'd won last week.
Sitting just 2 points clear of Tasmania, Western Australia will take an unchanged lineup into tomorrow's match following their 6-wicket win over the Redbacks. And the Tigers' attack can't afford too many slip-ups against the Warriors' batting order, boasting the likes of Mitch Marsh, Cameron Bancroft and Darcy Short.
They're in a really good position to potentially make it as well. So it's going to be a good game, and we're going to be playing on a wicket that's been completely different to the last 2 games that we've played.
The home side making 2 changes, with Jared Freeman and Sam Rainbird making way for paceman Alex Pycroft and Tim Payne.
Yeah, the national skipper's back. It's great. Any experience is fantastic. You know, we've been playing really well as a group, and to be able to bring back someone of that calibre is only going to add to it.
The match begins at 10:30 tomorrow morning. South Hobart have rallied in the dying stages to secure a 1-1 draw against the Hobart Zebras at Darcy Street this afternoon. The Zebras controlling things early before capitalising just 10 minutes into the match, courtesy of skipper Kieran Brown. But with just a few minutes left of play, the home side found themselves with their best chance yet to square things up, with Gilly D'Souza finding a clear path to the back of the net through the heavy traffic.
22 degrees today in Hobart, Launceston, Burnie and Devonport, all atop of 21 after a pretty cool start. 23 was the state's top temperature today at St Helens, 22 for Cressy and Fingal, 21 degrees for Wynyard, Tunnock, Campania and Flinders Island, 19 at Low Head, Smithton and Sheffield, with a top of 18 for Strawn and 15 for Lyowini. Mostly clear skies today with just some low cloud there to the west. A cold front approaches Tasmania from the west, high cloud visible over South Australia with a trough producing cloud over southern Queensland, the high over the mainland creating mostly clear conditions for the remainder. Tomorrow the cold front will cross the state early with a high to build over the Bight. A low pressure trough extends across the north of the country. West to northwesterly winds tomorrow 20 to 30 knots, tending southwesterly early before easing to 15 to 25 knots from the west later, with seas between 2 and 3 metres. There is a strong wind warning current for all Tasmanian coastal waters, and there is a small craft wind alert for the southwest and central lakes. 16 and showers tomorrow for Hobart and Adventure Bay, 11 for Tarraleah, 19 with showers easing in Launceston and Bridport, 17 with showers for Devonport. Showers in Burnie, 17, 15 for Strawn, 16 at Marrawar, with 20 degrees and showers clearing for St Helens and Whitemark, 19 for Swansea. And the UV remains high around Tasmania. Fine conditions apart from some light showers about the west and the far south on Wednesday. Those conditions expected to continue later into Thursday, with showers clearing from the west and the far south on Friday, but a pretty fine day elsewhere. Looking at your major centres now, 31 degrees in Perth tomorrow, a sunny day expected there, 21 in Adelaide, 19 with showers for Melbourne, 33 and sunny in Sydney, with 36 in Brisbane, 39 for Alice Springs. And still a little sunshine around, 19 in Hobart, 18 in Launceston and 18 in Devonport. Back to you, Jo.
Lovely, thanks for that, Sam. That's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. We'll see you a little later. Bye-bye.